An Australian politician who's been pushing some of the similar messages to Donald Trump on trade and immigration for a long time is Bob Katter, the federal MP from North Queensland, and Bob Katter joins me now. Mr Katter, welcome. Are you feeling energised by Donald Trump's victory?
Very much so. I've never followed Campaign America ever. In this case, I tuned in to the first Republican candidates debate. So this was the first time Rubio, Cruz, Trump had spoken to the Australian nation. And what Trump chose, this is his first message to the Australian people. He said, when there is an economic hiccup, China pulls its currency down. Right? This is a government that is out there to aggressively trade, to look after its people, to create jobs and industry for its people, right? That's the Chinese government, right? So what Trump says is, they pull, the minute there's a hiccup in the world economies, they pull their currency down, right? He said, we give them a lecture. He said, when I become president, we won't be giving them a lecture. We'll be giving them a lesson. I didn't this bloke from Barrow, still don't. I said, I'm voting for this bloke. But that was his first message to the to the American people. And that message sunk home.
Isn't that a concern for Australia, though? Because if the Chinese economy gets hit, the Australian economy gets hit.
At the end of the day, Joe, they will buy iron ore from us because we're cheaper. You know, they will buy coal from us
but the Chinese
we're
economy, but the Chinese economy would be slowing down, so they won't need as much iron ore for us. So that's going to hit the Australian economy.
The doctrine of marginal advantage. Before I was thrown out of university, I did economics. Doctrine of marginal advantage. I just don't think it works anyway. And before this free trade business exploded on the world scene, and you've got to understand, well, I don't know who's free trading. Chinese are not, the Europeans are not, the Brazilians are not, the Indians are not, and whilst the Americans say they are, they're not. The only country on earth that I know that actually does free trade is Australia, and there's been absolutely
But there are protectionist
disastrous.
measures, or there have been in Australia as well over the years. For example, the car industry.
We were. I mean, I sit under a big picture of Jack McEwen. We were a very aggressively trading, protectionist country in certain areas that we needed to be protectionist. And those were the areas of technology and industry. I mean, a little country like this is not going to have any technology or industry unless there is some sort of protection in there. But it's not protection I'm talking about. I, in fact, have never in my whole life ever advocated tariffs or subsidies, right? I've advocated an aggressive marketing policy, and there's one hell of a difference. Let me give, Trump is a classic example with the currencies. Our currency is not free traded, it's propped up. Our interest rates are 1,000% higher than our competitor nations. But the whole emphasis is on an ideology, not on reality. Ideology of free markets.
Okay, let's turn to some other elements of this now. Donald Trump, doesn't he already risk becoming the shifty establishment type politics with the way he's changed post-election? Like before the election, the crowds were saying, lock her up and drain the swamp, drain the swamp. Since the election, he's all like, Hillary's a wonderful person, she's a good person, we owe her a great debt of gratitude. And with the whole drain the swamp thing, he's employed a whole heap of special interest lobbyists in his transition team. Do you think that there is a danger now that he will become that shifty establishment politician that supposedly his supporters despise?
I think that there's a very high likelihood that will occur. I remember Obama's famous statement, the people that were responsible for the GFC, 5 of them are in the top 11 positions in the American government. When I am president, that will change. It did. It wasn't 5. It became 8. The 11 were from Goldman Sachs.
So, but Trump has ridden this huge wave of popularity. Do you think he can produce the goods now, considering what has happened since the election night?
I think that there will be a shift to more aggressive trading by America, who's one of our biggest trading partners, and I look forward to that. I mean, Brexit opens the door for our beef to go into Europe. It's one of our biggest export items. Now, when I say that, our economy has been completely destroyed. All that's left now is iron ore and coal. That's all we have. And to make
Well,
ends
we've got
meet,
significant agricultural
Yeah, no,
products that come from
no,
your
no, no,
electorate
no,
that we're
no,
exporting
no,
overseas.
No, Joe, I would argue definitely not. The big two are 130 billion. 130 billion. The next one down is probably gold or aluminium or beef. Right? They're 10 billion. They're not even the same. I mean, there's no comparison. 130 billion, the big two, and there's nothing else. But we have to buy everything from overseas now. I mean, I'm not worried about other countries. I'm worried about our country. We have to buy everything. All white goods gone. Next year, all motor vehicles will be gone. 40% of your housing, building material comes in now from overseas. You've got to buy it. Where are you going to get the money to buy it from overseas? Where are you going to get the money to buy it from overseas? Well, you better start building some railway lines into the Galilee coalfields. You better start building some dams and give us ethanol so that we've got a product that we can sell competitively.
Okay, just finally, because we haven't got all day, just on the 457 visa issue has been prominent over the last couple of days. Labor is making some noise on that. They presumably want to see the numbers cut significantly. It's about 45,000 a year at the moment. Do you think there's a need for that to be cut substantially?
I have asked, I think, I might be wrong here, but 11 questions. And all I ask the government is, what financial arrangements have you made? Because you're bringing 620,000 people a year into this country, student visas, Section 457s and migrants, those three categories, 620,000. There's only 200,000 jobs. There's over 200,000 school leavers. I mean, the country will be bankrupted by you bringing all these people in. And the other thing that fascinates me is they're coming in from countries that either A, have no rule of law, B, have no democracy, C, have no egalitarian traditions, and no Judeo-Christian background. Well, are they going to fit in here in Australia?
So to what extent should the 457s be cut from that 45,000 figure?
Oh, I think you're talking about a few thousand would be all I would be looking at. And that's all it was. Really, it was the ALP. I mean, Turnbull's comment is quite intriguing because it was the ALP that blew them from about 30,000, which I was screaming and yelling about. But you've got to understand they're undermining our pay and conditions and our safety standards and taking our jobs away from us. The first member for Kennedy 100 years ago was saying exactly the same things I'm saying now.
Okay, we've got to leave it there. Bob Catter, thanks so much for coming and having a chat to us.